Welcome to Frosting Your Gravy, everyone. Today I'm inviting you to join me for a special recipe for a very delicious and very nutritious supper or dinner, depending on the time of the day. And it will be traditional Russian cabbage wraps. If you were lucky enough to know some Russian families and have tried their cabbage wraps and always wanted to make them, this recipe is perfect. Or if you're new to this and you're just wondering what is this, I promise you won't regret if you try it. Even those who are not really friends with cabbage normally absolutely love and appreciate it in this form. And I am also including the Armenian way of serving these because I've added stuffed yellow squash and stuffed zucchini. That is how people from my Armenian heritage prepare them. And they are served over a bed of sauteed vegetables and rice and topped with broth. A really good recipe. I highly recommend. If you think, stick around and let's cook this together. And it's dinner time, friends. Everything in the pot is done. And so here's how I'm serving plates. I have a little bit of rice. Remember the garnish we made earlier? That goes over the bed of rice. Look how beautiful. Spread it on. And the next we will pull out our cabbage wraps, and if you like me made squash and zucchini stuffed, then that also, and some broth. Friends, I just opened the lid and the smell, the aroma of all of this that started filling my kitchen is so good. Let's get this dinner served. Here we go. That's a stuffed zucchini. Oh, look at that beauty.
That is ridiculous.
Let's get a cabbage next. All right. That's a cabbage wrap. And another cabbage wrap. And let's do one yellow squash. Here we go. I had to flip the yellow squash so you can see the beauty of it. And now fill it with broth as much as each individual person in your family likes. Traditionally, where I'm from, we eat it with bread and dip some bread in the broth, and the bread is the naan-style bread. And friends, first thing we're going to make is the sauce slash garnish. And our first step is to peel and dice 2 large onions. Also peel and grate through the large side of the grater 3 large carrots. Also dice 2 medium green bell peppers. They can be colorful sweet bell peppers too. Heat up a large skillet and add about 4 tablespoons of oil just to cover the bottom of the pan. Add onions. Stirring occasionally, cook onions until they soften up and become translucent. Then add shredded carrots. Stir and cook on medium heat until carrots wilt down and soften up. Carrots are really nice and soft now. Time to add diced bell peppers. and cook, stirring occasionally until bell peppers soften up. Now is the good time to season our vegetables, and for this you can use whatever seasoning blend that you like. I like salt-free Mrs. Dash blend, and that's what I usually use for the spice, and I generously season my vegetables because they will be adding really good flavoring to the sauce where our cabbage wraps will be cooking. And because this is salt free, I'm also going to add a tablespoon of salt to this. But you can use a blend of onion powder, paprika, black pepper, garlic powder, whatever spices you like to go with the vegetables. My trusty one is Mrs. Dash. There, I added salt, and also guys, traditionally I add whatever vegetables are in season when I make these. Right now we have squash and zucchini, and I grated one, and that's what I'm also going to add to the vegetable sauce or the garnish. So this will go in, but that's optional. Think about how nutritious of a dinner you're going to serve your family, and the flavor when it's all done and blended is truly out of this world yummy. Never had my kids complain about vegetables, heavy presence of vegetables in this dish. No siree. When everything softens up, turn off and set aside. And now that our garnish is done, let's make our meat mixture. And the proportions are super easy. For 1 pound of ground beef, we're going to need 1 large egg, 1 small onion diced really finely, and a 1/4 cup of uncooked rice. Now, uncooked rice is the Armenian way of making these cabbage wraps. Part of my heritage is Armenian, and when my grandma made these cabbage wraps, she always used raw uncooked rice and always told me that the difference between the Russian food culture and Armenian food culture is that Russians add partially cooked rice to the meat, which will be a 1/2 cup of partially cooked rice, but Armenians always add raw uncooked rice and a 1/4 cup. Today I'm honoring my Armenian heritage and doing it the way that my grandma used to. And your favorite meat seasoning, I'm going for salt-free Mrs. Dash, garlic and herb. I think this goes really good with meat, so I'll spice it with that, and I'll add salt separately because this is salt-free. And here we have it, guys. In a mixing bowl, I have just over a pound of meat, 1 small onion diced really small, 1/4 cup raw rice, 1 egg, and my garlic and herb Mrs. Dash. I'm going to generously season it because if your meat tastes really good, so will your finished cabbage rolls taste really good, because to season the filling nicely is the key. And I will add salt to it, And friends, a kind of an important note here, if you are not using garlic and herb seasoning blend, then whatever seasoning blend you do use need to have Italian herbs in it, or add half a tablespoon of Italian seasoning blend that's got oregano, marjoram, parsley, and whatever it is that makes up for the Italian herbs blend is an absolute must in this recipe. Mine already has an herb blend, so I'm not adding the Italian herbs. And thoroughly mix all of this together. I usually do it by hand, kind of like I would knead the dough, just mush everything, but you can do it with a spoon or fork also. When it's all thoroughly mixed, cover and put in the refrigerator so that the spices get a chance to marinate into the meat. Next, I'm going to prepare cabbage. I have one medium size of cabbage head, and I'm going to use a large knife and cut out the centerpiece that's tough. And the next step will be to break the cabbage into all the individual leaves. This part we need to do very carefully and simply pull leaf by leaf off of the whole head, kind of pull it apart into large leaves. And the deeper we go into our cabbage, the smaller and shorter the leaves will be. When you pull the leaves off of the cabbage, try your absolute best to keep the leaves as one piece as possible, as whole as possible. Some tearing is inevitable, it'll happen, but our goal is to try and preserve the whole leaf, because into this leaf we will wrap and stuff the meat. And as I'm pulling the leaves off of the cabbage, I already have a pot of water boiling, because I will be adding about 5 leaves at a time, these cabbage leaves into the pot of boiling water for about 10 seconds and pull them out, and it'll greatly soften the leaves, so that when we stuff it with meat and start rolling, the leaves will not be breaking on us. The cabbage leaves into the boiling water one at a time, and gently push it in to submerge completely under this boiling water. Wait 10 seconds and pull them out. It'll soften up our leaves and make them pliable and perfect for rolling the meat into them. After the water treatment, this is the pile of my cabbage leaves ready to use to be rolled up with meat. And when we get all the way down to the center of the cabbage and the leaves are real small like this, these are not usable for wrapping, because there's just not enough body to wrap the meat in. And these we don't discard. We will simply line the bottom of our cooking pot with these on the bottom. And we will be cooking this meal in a large, mine is 6-quart Dutch oven. It doesn't have to be a Dutch oven as long as you have a wide and deep dish to cook it in. And on the bottom of an empty pot, I'm going to lay those little cabbage leaves that could not be used for wrapping the meat in, because they're too small, too short. Next, we're going to scoop this vegetable mixture that we created and just evenly spread in one thin layer over the cabbage. And I will show you as an example on one leaf how I wrap up the meat in it. So here's the leaf, and this part of the leaf is hard and usually breaks during rolling up. So we're going to cut that off and discard. I don't keep this hard part of the leaf. We don't need that. So only the soft part is left, and we will lay the meat on the outer edge of the cabbage leaf. There, see how it's on the edge in the center. Leave a little bit of room from the edge and kind of smush the meat, and then roll this edge over the meat once. Now I'm going to take the side, one side, and fold it over, and then do the same thing with the opposite side, fold it over. And because we slightly pre-cooked the cabbage leaves, it's much easier now to roll it up, and then tightly roll the cabbage leaf all the way to the other side. And look how neat and beautiful this cabbage roll is. One is done, and as soon as they're done, I'm going to be stacking them up on this prepared bed of vegetables. Edge of the leaf up, close one side to the center, the other side fold over to the center, and start rolling. 1, 2, 3, and our cabbage wrap is done. And keep building the layers until I run out of the meat and the leaves. So friends, when one of my children heard that I am going to shop for the ingredients to make the traditional Russian cabbage wraps, that child requested that I will also throw in some Armenian squash and zucchini. How Armenians stuff these squash is cut off a little bit of each end and discard, and then cut your squash into barrels. I'll probably cut like 1, 2, 3. I will say each one will make 3 barrels, and then using a small spoon, I'm going to carve out the center of each barrel and make space for the meat and rice stuffing to go in. So here we go. I have cut up the yellow squash and the zucchini into these little logs, and then I used a regular small spoon to dig the center of one of the yellow squash logs out, but leave the bottom untouched. So when you dig into it, be sure not to go all the way through. Leave some in so that it actually holds our meat stuffing. And just as an example, here is the zucchini barrel. Again, I left some on the bottom and carved all of the flesh out. And also, friends, optionally you can just discard these centers and throw them away, but to me it's part of the squash, so it holds nutrients, and I don't discard them. I simply stuff them into the pot in between these barrels stuffed with meat. I will push them in everywhere too, and they will simply become just part of the sauce, part of the broth. They're delicious and they're nutritious, and I typically don't discard them. And stuff each one with meat and rice filling that we prepared, and then lay them right over the cabbage rolls. Once you lay all of your stuffed cabbage and stuffed zucchini and yellow squash in the pot, it's time to add our liquid ingredients, and that is basically a tomato base broth. So you can do either just a couple of cans of stewed tomatoes or diced tomatoes or crushed tomatoes, really doesn't matter, and the rest will be just cold water. And as I told you earlier, I add the hearts, the flesh from the squash and zucchini into the pot with the rest of the ingredients, so they will keep cooking. And instead of the crushed tomatoes and water, what I like to add for the broth is original V8. So I will pour until it reaches like half point from the bottom of the pot to where our veggies are. So it will be 50-50. Half will be water. That's about half. And now I'm going to pour regular cold water on top of the V8 so that the water covers the vegetables. I added 4 bay leaves, and I'm going to add a small handful of colorful peppercorns. That will add fantastic flavor. Top it off with cold water. Water should just barely cover the vegetables. I can just lightly push them in and they submerge. Doesn't have to be like completely drowned by water, but really close to the tops of the barrels, or if you skip the barrels, then just barely covering the cabbage wraps. On high heat, bring the pot to boiling without the lid for now. After everything comes to a rolling boil, it is time to cover our pot with a lid. Seal tight, reduce heat to absolute minimum, and cook for 40 to 45 minutes until the meat and the rice are completely cooked through. And if you like a little spicy, you can also add a little bit of crushed red pepper flakes to the broth. Close to the time when our dinner is almost finished cooking, now is a good time to scoop out a little bit of the broth and taste it for salt. If it's not salty enough, now about 10 minutes before they're completely done cooking is the perfect time to add more salt or whatever other seasonings you feel are missing. Well guys, this concludes our recipe for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you will follow this recipe and create these super nutritious, absolutely delicious cabbage wraps or stuffed zucchini and squash for your family, your loved ones. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. Give me thumbs up for my hard work. Consider subscribing to Frosting Your Gravy for more delicious recipes like these in the future. Thank you so much for watching, for hanging out with me, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bon appetit!